How's it going, everyone? Recently there was a tiering survey for the OU tier where we answered questions about how good the tier is right now, what do we feel about the meta, and whether we think certain Pokemon are broken or not. I also made a video about it, and after the survey results there's been a lot of talk about these broken mons, whether there should be suspect tests or not, and there might be some suspect tests coming in the near future. So I figured this would be the perfect opportunity to make a tier list and do a tier listing video where I'm gonna categorize all the OU mons and some mons from the lower tiers into these categories. I've got 80 mons in total here, and this is completely going to be my own opinion. I have played the tier for a while now. I have really good insight about the tier, and I'm just gonna share my opinions. As you can see, I have a bunch of tiers, and I've also typed down what they denote. Like, I've got broken tiers, the mons that should probably get banned, right? And S, the best in S plus and S are like the best mons in the tier. A plus and A, they are really good in the OU tier. B plus and B is like they have a good amount of usability, and C is like if you can build a good team around them, they would work. And finally D, they are just bad and unviable in the OU tier. And I would love to know your opinions as well, whether you agree or disagree with my placements. I would love to know what your thoughts are, and I would love to read your comments. So without further ado, let's get started. And these are alphabetically ordered, and I guess I'm just gonna start in order, starting with Alomomola. Now Alomomola is a really good mod. It is the best wish passer in the tier, and a really good pivot with flip turn, really good sponge for hits. It can take a lot of hits, and it's just overall a really good tank slash wish passer. Really good utility mod, fits in like balance, bulky offense. Well, I wouldn't say bulky offense, balance, semi-stall and stall variants, usually mostly balance. And every offensive mon like really just appreciates its ability. It is really like a really good partner to most of the mons in the tier. I would put this in either A plus or A. I kind of want to go A plus because I find myself using Alomomola a lot. A lot of my teams just have Alomomola because of its like utility and like being able to take hits and just regenerate whatever damage it took. So I think it's a plus. Then comes Among Us, and I'm gonna leave Among Us for now until we reach another mon. For now, let's pick up Blaziken. I think this mon is kinda bad. You shouldn't use it. Yeah, like if you can build a good team around it, it would probably work, but it's hard to do that, and you don't find Blaziken sweeping most of the time. It like all the circumstances have to be like really in your favor. Like everything should align for it to actually be able to sweep. I mean, I've used it before. I did the upper hand Blaziken video and I did make it work, but it was really hard. I would probably say it's C, usable once in a blue moon. I don't think it has a place in the OU tier though. Then comes Blissey. Really, you would really only use this install, and like install, and its job is to just take special hits. So I would just give it in B. Like, it has a decent amount of usability, but at the same time only install, or maybe like a really kind of a semi-stall or a really balanced team. But I think I would keep it at B. Plus we have a bunch of mons, so probably some mons are probably gonna be better than Blissey. That would be in B plus, so I'm gonna put it in B for now. Then comes Cerulege. I would put this in B as well because I think it's definitely better than Blaziken and has more usability in the OU tier than Blaziken. Like we have seen Cerulege being used, and it can sweep. It has more chances to sweep. It has a better typing, like ghost typing is good, and being a spin blocker, and like it can sweep, it can raise its speed and both attack. It has a really good move in Poltergeist. It can heal itself. Priority is really good, and it can be also become a breaker if you're running like a choice band Cerulege. So I think it has more potential. We might see more of it in the future, and it might kind of climb up, but for now I'd put it in B. I think it has, Cerulege has potential, like it can do a lot if you can use it properly. Then comes Cinderace. This is one of my favorite mons in the gen right now. First one is Garg. I would probably give it like the second guy in the gen. I love using Cinderace, and I would put this in A, maybe S. A plus or S. Kind of want to go S, not gonna lie. It is really good at what it does. Cinderace, it's like one of the most consistent mon. Like it has never dropped to UU, and it has never been deemed broken. It is just OU, like really balanced and consistent mon. Sitting in OU does its job perfectly. It has good speed, it has good offensive stats, it has a decent coverage, and it has utility moves like Will-O-Wisp and Code Change. Code Change is one of the like unique thing about it, like only this guy has Code Change, so that's pretty cool. And U-turn momentum is really cool. It has kind of versatility with its items, like it can run boots, it can run choice band. We saw RMT where I think FFK is their name. They used the Sash Reversal SD Cinderace, so you know there's some things you can do with this mon. So overall, really good Pokemon. It just does so much. It just does so much in the tier. It is beautiful, and I love this. I'm gonna give this mon a S. I think Cinderace is really good, really good. Then comes Clefable. Probably A plus or S. Might lean towards S, because ever since Fairy type was released, Clefable has been like the queen of every OU tier. It's just there, like you can't deny what it does. It has great utility moves like Stealth Rock, T-Wave, Knockoff. Magic Guard ability helps so much, especially against Garganacl, which is a menace in the tier. And it can become a sweeper, it can be like a utility mon crippler, it can become a wish passer, and like hazard setter. It can knock items off, of course, thunder wave, cripple stuff. And the sticky bar set, invention of sticky bars for Roaring Moon, that's so beautiful, right? That is so good. Like it can deal with Roaring Moon on its own. Great use of Terra, and unaware sets are really good too if you can use them. So I think I would give it S. Maybe I don't know, I'm like A plus or S. Kind of want to put it in S. We'll see after we get more mons. We'll see if I want to change this. For now, I would put this in S. I think Clefable deserves to be an S. Clodsire comes. I would probably give it a B plus. I think Clodsire dropped. It was good like before, like a couple of months ago, but now it has dropped. Everyone had gotten used to it now. Like Clodsire doesn't even deal with that much stuff anyways. Like Raging Bolt, like unaware Clodsire doesn't even deal with a Raging Bolt with Draco Meteor with booster energy. You can just two-shot it. I would say Water Absorb Clodsire is probably better because it guaranteed deals with Primarina, unless you're using like a Psychic Specs Primarina. Even then it's harder to, unless it takes hazard damage, it's harder to take it down. So Water Absorb is probably the superior ability, but overall it gets walled by Gliscor, like Poison Ground. Gliscor doesn't take shit from that. It gets walled by Air Balloon. Goldengo gets walled by Air Balloon. King Gambits, overall any Air Balloon steel types, right? And course sets are good, I guess, but you have to run aware, and it is also vulnerable to just like getting roared, gets knocked off easily. And the existence of Gliscor is just, yeah, makes Clodsire completely useless and a setting that most of the time. So I'm gonna put it in B plus. It still is a good def tank and probably more useful than Blissey in certain team archetypes, because Blissey I would say only is usable in stall. Clodsire on the other hand, you can use it in like a balance potentially. Then comes Corviknight. Probably just gonna give it the same tier as Alomomola, because it's good at what it does, you know, checks King Gambit. It has really good defensive typing and momentum. One of the only defog users in the tier, even though that gets blocked by Goldengo, but it is still there, right? It's still capable of defogging. And you, to be honest, just having U-turn is such a help most of the time with this mon. I prefer using Corviknight over Skarmory just because it learns U-turn. I love momentum and just pivoting out on stuff, and it does that perfectly. Like Dragapult comes in on Corviknight, he just U-turn out. Now of course it doesn't deal with most physical attackers. You have to utilize your Terra, and it is vulnerable to getting roared from like a Zamazenta, but overall I think it's a reliable defensive tank, so A+. Then comes Cresselia. This mon is really only usable in Trick Room or Stall, so just gonna put it in C. If you're using a Trick Room or Stall, use Cresselia, then otherwise don't use Cresselia. Then comes Darkrai, and this is the mon because of which I decided to hold Among Us down there, because Darkrai is broken, right? And it is one of the reasons why sleep is banned in the tier. That is why I actually even decided to keep Among Us up, because I just wanted to talk about why like Among Us is really so bad. It has great typing. It is the one mon that can actually deal with Ogerpon aside from Hydrapple, but Hydrapple is really bad. But Among Us could have been good if only sleep was allowed. Existence of Darkrai, sleep got banned, Among Us just goes down to D. Like if one potential scenario would be that seeing Darkrai is broken, and I'm gonna talk why Darkrai is broken just in a minute, but seeing Darkrai is broken, and if we hit a suspect test and it somehow ends up getting banned, I mean I want it to get banned, but if it does, then I would like to see a future where sleep gets unbanned, because Darkrai is gone. Darkrai was the prime suspect of prime reason why sleep was banned. The other ones like Lilligant with sleep powder in Sun, and like Valiant with Hypnosis, Hex, Calm Mind, but I don't think that's that big of a deal, right? Darkrai is the prime reason why sleep is banned, so it would be cool to see what the future holds. But for now, as sleep is banned and Among Us can't use Spore, it is really just bad. I wouldn't use Among Us ever in any team. It's gonna be a waste of a slot in my opinion. Let me know what you think, but in my opinion it would be a waste of a slot without Spore, so D really. Now let's talk about why I think Darkrai is broken, and in simple words I would say its coverage is what it makes it broken. But if I want to expand on it, basically it's like a combination of all the factors. Its starts are really good. It's like the fourth, fifth fastest mon in the tier, probably after Deoxys, Dragapult and Zamazenta, I think. Its offensive start is really powerful. I think it has 135 base special attack, which is insane. And then it is so versatile. It can run a million items and a million moves in its set. Like it can run boots, it can run expert wear, like it can run life orbs, focus sash, leftovers, choice scarf, choice specs, you name it. You can run any of these items and it will work perfectly with them. Talk about its move pool. It has a move for every single one of its checks and counters, no matter what. Like even if you look at this list, Garganacl, it learns Focus Blast. Gloking, of course, Dark Pulse doesn't do shit. It gets Ice Beam for Gliscor. It's one of the best Ice Beam users in the tiers, probably because of how fast this guy is. Fairy types, it gets Sludge Bomb. King Gambit, it gets Focus Blast, and Will-O-Wisp. You can just, if you don't want to risk missing a Focus Blast, you can just Will-O-Wisp the King Gambit and it's cool. And like it also has Psyshock, which you don't usually see the usage, but it does have Psyshock for something like Blissey and Clodsai. You just load up a nasty plot Darkrai, Psyshock up. What are these guys gonna do? They're not gonna do anything. You're just gonna knock them out. And not just like special move pool, it has utility moves as well. Knockoff, Taunt, Thunder Wave, Will-O-Wisp, a Trick for Scarf and Choice Spec sets. Like its versatility is insane, and not to mention terrestrialization. Like Zamazenta is one of its best checks, but what does Darkrai do? It nasty plots on a Zamazenta switch and then just Terror Poisons. Body Press doesn't knock it out, and Sludge Bomb 2-hit KOs it. Like what are you supposed to do then? what are you supposed to do then? And you can also burn the Zamazenta, but yeah, Zamazenta has ways to go around burn, like substitute Resto Chesto and Terra Fire, but you can't do anything when you hit it with a Sludge Bomb unless Zamazenta decides to burn the Terra as well. But still, only thing it can do is really just roar it out, because even if it iron defenses and gets +3, it won't knock the Darkrai out, and Darkrai will do a lot in its Dark Pulse. It's gonna do a lot in its Dark Pulse, so that's the thing. Darkrai is a crazy is a crazy bastard, I should say, with its insane coverage, insane speed, like really fast speed start, really good offensive starts, and its typing isn't even that bad. When you think about it, Dark is only really weak to Fighting and Fairy, and its bulk is decent too. It's not like a Glass Cannon, like a let's just say, what's a Glass Cannon really? I don't know. This tier doesn't really have many Glass Cannons. Like Roaring Moon's defense, you could call it, but Deoxys, yeah, Deoxys is a Glass Cannon, but Darkrai isn't. Darkrai is probably more bulkier than Deoxys. It does take hits. If it's not getting hit by a super effective move, it's not gonna die, unless it's a really powerful boosted neutral move, of course, but you know what I mean, right? So yeah, mainly its versatility and its coverage paired with its speed and offensive start is what makes it so threatening and broken in the tier, and it does not deserve to be in the tier. Now moving on, we've got Deoxys. I'm gonna put this guy in A. I don't think it's on the level of being A+, like really good. I really like using Deoxys. I think it has so much potential. I was so glad that it climbed back up to OU, and now it's in OU, and it's really good. I love using Deoxys, but yeah, I think it's a really just balanced mon. It has its unique things, like being the fastest mon, being an Ice Beam user, and having really good coverage and hazard setting capabilities, so it can become a lead, it can become a screen setter. So overall, just a really good and balanced mon in the tier. I would give it an A. Then comes Dondozo. I would put it in the same tier as Cloudsa. It really does the same thing. Like, it's the best defensive wall. Like, it will wall pretty much everything aside from Ogerpon Wellspring, and even then against that guy you can like utilize Terra, or like if you're running a body press set, then you would beat it. So overall, just really just fits on stall, but you could use it like maybe in a bulky team, like maybe a Samuel stall, maybe a balanced team if you are able to build a good team around it. But overall, just a wall, right? So I would give it B. All it does is really just wall stuff up. I'm gonna keep these two above Blissey is because these two have the ability to become offensive threats with Curse, and both use Curse. Of course, Dondozo is the prime user, but Cloudside can see Curse as well. Blissey on the other hand can't really do that. Even if it's running Calm Mind, it can't really do that. So that's why I think these two are better overall. Then comes Dragapult, the best Pokemon in the tier. Hands down, this Pokemon is the best in the tier. S+, top of the mountain. Like, you can't deny this. Great utility, the fastest mon outside from Deoxys, of course, and great typing, spin blocking abilities. Like, move pool is not that great, but its versatility is super good. Like, it can run Choice Spec set, it can run Choice Band set, it can run Boots, it can run Sash, it can run DD, right? It can be run pretty much splashable in every kind of team. You can put it in a semi-star team or like a balanced team, bulky offense, hyper offense, just any type of team you can use this Pokemon, and it will fit. It will do its job properly. Being a Will-O-Wisp user, dealing with King Gambit, one of its checks so easily, just burn it and you're good. Like, Thunder Wave, of course, it has momentum. Dragon Darts is a really cool move that like breaks sashes and multi-scale and all that stuff. Infiltrator is such a great ability. Going through screens and substitute, it's so awesome. It is beautiful. And then when you get surprised by random like Choice Band, Choice Spec set, those are like breaker sets. Terra Ghost, Terra Blast can break pretty much everything aside from maybe like a Garg, but then you have banded Dragon type moves for that, right? So yeah, I think it's really just the best Pokemon in the tier. It's widely regarded as the best Pokemon, and it's true. It's the best Pokemon in the tier. Then comes Dragonite, and I'm gonna say Dragonite is A plus or S. I don't know. I feel like it's S. Maybe not S. I think Dragonite is S. I think it's really annoying. Like whenever I face a Dragonite, I am scared of this Pokemon, especially because you don't know what set this is. It could be like DD, it could be Bandit, it could be like Encore set, and it could be a rare Hurricane for Great Tusk, or it could be the most recent invention, Scale Shot, Terra Fire, Fire Punch, Encore, DD. My god, with loaded dice. That set is so crazy. I hate facing that set. I have gotten subbed by that set so many times. It is crazy. Now of course it can get checked by a bunch of mons like Zamazenta. Dragapult can burn it unless you have Terra Fire. It can get Whirlwinded. Can't really do anything to Dondozo, but still I think it is a really good mon. Fits in balance, fits in bulky offense, fits in offense, hyper offense. Just a really good sweeper. Not to mention the priority. Extreme Speed is such a good priority to cleaning late game. It only doesn't do much to like a Dragapult because it's faster even after a +1 Dragonite and can't get hit by a Extreme Speed. So yeah, I think Dragonite is S. Maybe A plus. Maybe I'm hyping this guy up a bit. I want to keep Cinderace in S because this mon is so consistent and balanced. It deserves it. I feel like maybe Dragonite is A plus. I would put it at top of A plus for now. We'll see later. Next is Enamorus. I'm gonna put this guy in A. It's a really good mon. Can be a Scarf User, can be a breaker with choice packs. I personally love superpower sets like physical with Taunt, Terra Blast, Ground. Those are like the stall breaker sets. Really cool. Sub CM is also pretty amazing. So overall I think it has all the coverage it needs as well, like Moonblast, Mystical Fire, Earth Power, and then a rare Terra Stellar. So pretty cool. I think it is a really good mon to use. I personally don't use it that often, but overall it is still a good mon. We're gonna put it in A. Same as Deoxys kinda. It has its niches, it has its uses, right? Excadrill. Not gonna lie, usable once in a blue moon. I don't see myself using Excadrill at all unless I'm using a sand team, and it only really fits in sand. Like I wouldn't recommend you to use Excadrill outside sand. There are better options, so yeah, I would probably just gonna put this in C. Fezandipti, Garbanzo Beans, I'm sorry. I really just added this mon because I wanted to make the number of Pokemons 80. I had 79, so I just decided to pick Fezandipti because well, I wanted some candidates for the D tier, of course, and there was one game or one or two game where Fezandipti was used in World Cup, so that's pretty funny. It has like the set Beat Up, Toxic Chain, which most of the time gets you a poison, but overall wouldn't recommend using Fezandipti in the OU tier, right? Unless you really just want to make a gimmick team. If you're using a gimmick team, then you can pretty much make anything work. Like I do that as well. I've used SD Fezandipti and made it work, right? But it's not good. It's not good, right? So yeah, Fezandipti D. Garchomp, I would say this is a hard one. Probably B. I think Garchomp is underrated. I think it should be used more. It has good, like, Rough Skin Rocky Helmet is always nice, and then being a ground type and like having both Spikes and Stealth Rock, Detail to roar stuff out. It can also be a sweeper with Scale Shot and SD. So like yeah, it has to run like Fire Fang to be able to deal with Corviknight or like Terra Blast Fire, but I think it's underrated and people should use it more. I would give it B. It has some decent usability. Garganacl, my favorite mon in the tier, my favorite Pokemon. I just love Garganacl, and I'm gonna put this in S+. It's the best mon there is, not gonna lie. For me personally, of course, Dragapult is in comparison, like one would say Dragapult is probably better in comparison, but Garg is right there alongside it. Like Salt Cure is so good, right? This guy is so bulky, is insane. It just sits on the field for days and just keeps chipping things down with Salt Cure, unless you have a covert mon with Covert Cloak. But it doesn't stop at that, right? It has Stealth Rock, can run, it has coverage moves like Earthquake, and it can become a sweeper late game with Iron Defense, or like maybe Curse with Body Press. Iron Defense, Body Press is really cool. I mean, I literally had the game in the Moltres video where I was struggling against the Iron Defense Terra Flying Guard. It is an amazing user of Terra. Like, it would never be if you Terra your guard, it would never be a waste, in my opinion, if you know like how to play the game, of course, right? Because its utility is just so insane. It takes defensive hits, it takes the def hits, it has leftovers recovery, like protect left. Salt Cure is so good, and then like pair it with the grassy terrain, damn, unkillable. Legit unkillable. So not gonna lie, Garg is top of the mountain, just as Dragapult. It is awesome. I love Garganackle. It is so good. Like, Salt Cure in general just makes it so insane. And not to mention, this is the only rock type in the tier, in the OU tier, the only rock type that deals with Dragapult, completely walls Dragapult. No matter what variant, it will wall Dragapult for ages. And not to mention, it also can get status and Kyurem. It kind of walls Kyurem if Kyurem is not specs with Earth Power. It has to like read the Garg and then like hit a Earth Power on it with specs. It kind of walls Kyurem. Not because like Kyurem is broken, right? I wouldn't say it completely walls it, because Kyurem can definitely just use a Terra or like hit it with a specs Earth Power and won't do anything, and it would force your Garg to probably Terra. But it is up there in one of the best Kyurem checks, I would say. So yeah, I think Garg is like best in the tier, honestly, just best in the tier. Alright, moving on, Goldengo. I'm gonna put this guy in S. I think it deserves it. It's not best in the tier. I think it's kind of balanced compared to mons that are going to be in the S and that are in the S plus tier right now. I think it's super. Compared to those, it's balanced. Of course, compared to these guys below it, it's really good. And like, its ability is awesome. Single-handedly deals with the rapid spin and defog, like was those two moves. Best spin blocker, really good, like really good defensive Pokemon with Thunder Wave and all that. Checks Zamazenta to some extent, as long as you don't get defense dropped by Crunch. And like, yeah, overall just a awesome Pokemon, just awesome Pokemon. Has utility moves, has recovery, has a good typing, actually an amazing typing, and can use a variety of items and moves. Can be a breaker with choice spec Psyshock sets, and can be a speed control guy with choice Scarf, can run trick, can have Focus Blast, working gambits, coverage like Focus Blast, Dazzling Gleam, Psyshock, Make It Rain, Shadow Ball. Great coverage, honestly, and a great user of Terra. So yeah, I think it's S, top of S. Then comes Glimmora. I'm gonna put this thing in B. I think all it does is really just be a lead, or like a Meteor Beam set is cool, but other than that, it doesn't really have that much versatility. It can't really do anything much more than being a lead and just getting hazards up and removing hazards if it gets a chance to. So yeah, I think I'm just gonna put it in B+. Gliscor, my god, let's put this guy in S+. That's probably the second most annoying Pokemon after Garganackle. Toxic Protect sets, SD Facade sets, like I love SD Terra Normal Facade sets, they are great. It has good move pool, like Facade, Earthquake, Knockoff, and then Toxic Protect, Stealth Rock Spikes. U-Turn is a really good, like pivoting around is awesome. A great user of Terra Normal to deal with hexes, like Dragapult's hexes, that's great. And most importantly, how can I forget this? The best knockoff absorber in the tier, because if once you get poisoned, you don't have to worry about your item. You can just switch it in and get knocked off, and it just heals. Honestly, like from a non-stab knockoff, all you take after switching in is just gonna heal back because of its ability. So really annoying Pokemon overall, and definitely deserves to be in S tier. It's really just like fits in so many teams, right? You can run this in balanced. You can run this in stall, semi-stall, bulky offense. Hell, you can even run this in offense. I wouldn't say hyper offense. We've seen some hyper offenses with Glisco, like with SD agility, but I wouldn't call them good. Like, they could work, but I wouldn't recommend it, and I wouldn't prefer it myself as well. So aside from hyper offense, it really just fits in every archetype of a team. So just a really good Pokemon, really splashable. Its utility will always be useful to whatever thing you try to build it with. All right, moving on. Goodra, gonna put this in maybe C, visible once in a blue moon if you can make a team. Honestly, I think Goodra has more potential than these guys. I think it's in UU, but it has more potential. Like, its special defense start is insane, and with AV, like, it doesn't take anything from special moves, and it has good abilities like Gooey and Sap Sipper, like absorbing grass type moves from like Ogerpon. It actually walls Ogerpon unless Ogerpon is running superpower, which is mostly not the case. Superpower slash low kick, which mostly is not the case, right? Of course, it wouldn't appreciate being knocked off, but it knocked off, and player off would probably do a lot. Its defense start isn't that good unless you're running like max HP max defense, but overall I think it has good potential. It has good coverage as well, like Flamethrower, Draco, Heavy Slam, Knockoff, Earthquake, and all that coverage. So really good coverage. I think it has more potential, and probably would like to see more of Hisuian Goodra. Gonna put this in B. Then comes Entei. Yeah, not Entei. I just said Entei. Gouging Fire. Not banning this Pokemon was a mistake. Yeah, the meta has gotten used to it, people has gotten used to it, but it's still that like do or die Pokemon. If it's gonna sweep you, then it's gonna sweep you. If it's not gonna sweep you, then it's not gonna sweep you. It's just that kind of logic with this Pokemon. If you have a good way to deal with it, or if the opponent has like isn't using it properly, then yeah, maybe it's not gonna sweep you. If the opponent is good, knows how to use this, and you're like they have a good matchup, then it's over. You can't do anything. So yeah, I think this is definitely S. I personally would have wanted this guy banned, but now I think there are other mons that have more priority over this Pokemon, at least for a suspect test like Darkrai, and there's more to come. So yeah, Gouging Fire is an S tier. It can be like a breaking swipe sets are awesome. Its sweeping abilities are great. It can be a breaker in Sun, of course, one of the best breakers in Sun, like Adamant, Terra Fire. Yeah, you can't switch in anything unless you have Heatran. You can't switch in anything. You just can't switch in anything. Everything's gonna die, whether it's Garganacl, whether it's Primarina, whether it's Alomomola, water types, rock types, doesn't matter. Fire types, doesn't matter. Everything is gonna get knocked out in Sun, banned at Terra Fire, Raging Fury. So yeah, that's why it deserves to be an S. Then comes Great Tusk, probably the top of S. I don't want to put this in S plus. Maybe I should put this in S plus. I don't know. But the thing is, if I put this guy in S plus, then Goldengo probably deserves an S plus, and I don't wanna do that. I think Tusk is obviously the most used Pokemon in the tier, but nah, I think it's top of S. Goldengo and Great Tusk kind of go side by side. Both of these like kind of check and not check each other in some way, and obviously it's gonna be top of S because it is the best spinner, and it is one of the few Pokemons that kind of deal with King Gambit, and it's just it has versatility. It has coverage, Temper Flare for Corviknights, Ice Spinner, Supercell Slam. I've seen Head Smash Great Tusks for Moltres in the tier recently, which is funny. And then Knockoff, Rapid Spin, Headlong Rush, Bulk Up to become a sweeper, Rapid Spin increasing speed. Like, booster attack variants are awesome for being a breaker. AV sets are underrated too. AV sets are cool. It can run Rocky Helmet, it can run lefties. Boots are awesome. I love boots. Stealth Rock 3 attacks, of course. So yeah, Terra Ghost Bulk Up can deal with Zamazenta as long as it doesn't have Roar, so that's something. That's why definitely an S Pokemon. Like, I think Tusk is balanced. and it's like just a good mon, you know, there's just a good mon that is just balanced and you can't do anything about it. Tusk, I don't think Tusk is ever gonna be broken, and Nor is gonna drop down to, nor will it drop down to like drop down below OU. I think it's gonna stay and like and at top of the OU, and it's just gonna chill there. It's just that kind of mon. It is balanced and it's good. So yeah, great Tusk. Then comes Greninja. I would put this guy in B+. I think it has some usage in OU. Like it kind of catches you off guard if you're not checking for it, but usually like defensive mons do check for it. But its coverage, its typing is kind of cool because it deals with like two most common SPDF mons, that is Galarian, Slowking, and Garganacl. So that's pretty cool, and it also has Ice Beam coverage and like Gunk Shot for poison types like Primarina. That's something as well. So yeah, I think it has really good coverage. It is good fast too. It has priority, so I think definitely has a decent amount of usage in the tier. Then comes Grimmsnarl. You would only use this in screen, so let's just put this in here. If you want to use a screen team, sure, go for Grimmsnarl. It's a great screen setter. Aside from that, don't use it. Hatterene, probably gonna put in A. I think it is a good Pokemon, but not I wouldn't say it's A+. I think it's good. Doesn't exactly fit in most teams. You have to kind of build kind of a certain team if you want to use Hatterene, because you just can't splash it in any team. It wouldn't work, right? But overall, like Magic Bounce is cool, and it's a good defensive mon. Healing Wish utility is awesome. Trick Room teams, it's really good to use this in Trick Room teams, of course. And like typing is awesome. It has recovery in form of Draining Kiss, and Nuzzle is a great move that can paralyze Goldengo, which is a great usage of this Pokemon. Can be a really offensive Pokemon. Learns Healing Wish, learns Trick. So yeah, I think it has good coverage too. Like Mystical Fire is really all it needs to deal with it, because Fairy is only weak to Steel and Poison, or like Fairy can't do anything to Steel and Poison, and Poison dies to Psychic and Steel dies to Fighting. So yeah, overall just a good balanced mon to have in the tier. Holucha, I want to give this guy an A. Like it would be biased if I put this in A. I like Holucha too much, but I think it's B+. It struggles to sweep when there are mons like Moltres and Zapdos and Goldengo everywhere, right? I would say that there's potential for this to run like Stone Edge for Moltres, and then again you have to suffer with the move slot syndrome, because you can't run like Terra Fire or like a Terra Dark and Stone Edge for Zapdos and Moltres in the same set. You need CC, you need Acro, you need SD to be able to become a sweeper. You're gonna have to drop Encore, which is a really bad thing because it needs Encore. One thing I like about this is that like Encore Terra Ground deals with Raging Bolt, and it's kind of fun to use that. But overall, I think it's B. It does work in like terrain teams, of course. It's one of the prime users of its prime use is in grassy terrain teams and size spam teams, but overall I think it's a B+. Heatran, I'm gonna put it in the same tier. I don't think Heatran's that good, even though it's OU. Its use is not that great. There's definitely better options than using Heatran, like, cause its weakness to ground is too much. You have to rely on like either using a Terra, becoming a Terra Grass or like Flying type, or using Air Balloon. And even with Air Balloon, if you just get hit by some other move and the opposing Pokemon has a ground type move after, then you're pretty much dead unless it's slower, right? You can't do anything. Like Great Tusk, you just Ice Spinner. Maybe you would get burned by Flame Body. That is probably the use of Heatran. It can use Flame Body and burn stuff, but it would still die to Headlock Rush. If you don't get the burn, it's useless, because next time you can't switch in. Same with like Gliscor, because you just get knocked off or Facaded and then you die to Earthquake. Same with Kyurem, you can get freeze dried if the Kyurem is boots or like not specs and you just get earth power next turn. Pretty much that's the case with pretty much every mon in the tier. So yeah, basically its use is to like try to fish for flame body burns overall. Otherwise it doesn't have any use. It's good for like maybe a gouging fire that's not running earthquake, but it's hard to decide that, right? You don't know if a gouging fire is not running earthquake. It could run it and it could not run it. So overall I don't think Heatran is B plus. I don't think it should be even OU. I think Heatran should drop to UU, to be honest. I don't know who's using Heatran. I don't find any Heatrans on the ladder, so I don't know who is using Heatran. It's still in OU for some reason, but I don't think it deserves it. I think it's not that great. Hoopa gonna be it's good AV sets and it's a good breaker. AV sets are cool. If you can build a good team around it, it would definitely do its job and it would be really good, I would say. Hydrapple, I wasn't gonna put this in usable in once in a blue moon, because it's really hard to build around this Pokemon. Its move pool is just really bad. It has nothing aside from Nasty Plot, Recover, Giga Drain, and Fickle Beam, or Leaf Storm, Draco Meteor, and Earth Power. That's it. Or Terra Blast. Like literally, it has nothing aside from that. It can only be a Nasty Plot sweeper. No utility moves, no hazards, no like phasing or anything. So yeah, just not a good Pokemon. Indeedee, you only really use it if you want to build a Psy Spam team, because it has the ability Psychic Surge. So just gonna put this in C. Iron Boulder, probably top of B plus. I think Iron Boulder has potential. It is the fastest booster energy user, and I did the Iron Boulder video. It can be a great cleaner. You just have to kind of know how to use Iron Boulder. You just can't splash it on every team and work with it, because it wouldn't work. So you just gotta kind of have to build a team with it. But if you can, then it would definitely help you a lot, and if you can use it properly, then it would be really good. So I would put this in B plus. Not to mention its ability to like Mighty Cleave through Gliscor's Protects. It's really underrated, underused, but it is there, right? So yeah, gonna go with B plus. Iron Crown, gonna drop it in A. I am glad that it climbed back to OU. It deserves it. I think it's a really good mon to use. You can use AV, you can use choice specs, you can use booster energy, calm mind, and different stored power sets if you wish to. So yeah, I think really good mon. It can become a breaker, it can become a like a sweeper, right? Can sponge hits with AV, like has versatility, can fit on offensive teams, can fit on balanced teams, can fit on offense or bulky offense teams. So overall, just a versatile, powerful Pokemon. Iron Hands. Now this is one mon that is, I don't know what's it doing in UUBL. This thing is bad. I don't know, like from OU to UU, I guess it somehow became broken so that they had to ban it. But in OU, this guy is awful. It will never sweep. All it does is set up, take care of one Pokemon, and just die after. That's literally what it does. It will never sweep. Unless you're playing like a really bad player, not gonna lie. If you're playing against a really bad player that can't deal with the Iron Head, then sure, you might get a sweep. But overall, this Pokemon is just awful. Like its speed and having no priority is just that makes it bad. And electric fighting type is just so weird, because even if you have Ice Punch, like a defensive Dust doesn't even die after +2, and it's gonna knock you out into Headlong Rushes because it's faster. Like yeah. Lando, you can Ice Punch, sure. Intimidate, probably not gonna die if you don't SD. If you SD and they go Lando +1, you're just gonna get hit by Earth Power. Of course, it's gonna take the hit. It's really bulky. It's gonna take the hit and knock the Lando out. But that's it. Like, right? After that, it's completely useless. Maybe that's its usage. I don't know. Maybe that's its usage. Chipping down defensive Pokemon so that it can work. I have never found it useful, so I don't know. Let me know what you think. But yeah, I don't think this Pokemon is useful. And by the way, guys, if you're enjoying the video so far, if you're watching the video so far, that means you're enjoying it. So I would appreciate if you like the video and also subscribe to the channel. It is completely free, and I am on my goal, and my goal is to hit 2000 subs before the end of this year. So let's make that happen. And also let me know if you want to see more tier listing videos in the future. This is the first time I am doing it. It might be a long video, but let me know what you think. If you want to see more, I would definitely love to do more tier listing in the future. Moving on, we've got Iron Moth. I'll put this guy in A, or maybe A plus. I don't know. I think A is fine. I think this mon is really good cleaner. Really just only uses like as a cleaner. You can't really make it like a breaker because it gets walled by Heatran and Clodsire if you don't have the coverage, and Garganackle of course. So like, yeah, you have to utilize Terra every time you want to sweep with this guy, but overall I think it's just a really good mon. I think it's a cool mon. It's really powerful, 140 special attack base, and really becomes really fast with the help of booster, has great coverage, and with the help of Terra it becomes a menace. It does become a menace. Iron Treads, same tier to be honest. It's like the second best spinner in the tier. Good typing, deals with Raging Bolt to some extent, like it's a Raging Bolt check. And Rapid Spinner, Stealth Rock has good coverage. You can use like a offensive treads as well with booster attack, or like a Choice Band, Ice Spinner and all that. So just an overall decent mon, balanced mon in the tier. Like its uses are offense, rain, and hyper offense, rain offense, bulky offense kinda. I wouldn't put this in balance or like any other bulkier teams, but I think in any type of offense variant I think it fits. Aside from like Sun, it would fit. So yeah, I think it's a cool Pokemon. Iron Valiant, now I'm gonna put this guy in S. I think this Pokemon is the best booster energy user in the tier, and this mon is has the most coverage and most variety of move sets that it can run. It can run boost even with like one item booster energy. It can run Calm Mind sets with just all special. It can run SD sets with all physical. It can go mixed. It can run like different types of moves like Thunderbolt, Psyshock, Shadow Ball, Aura Sphere, Moonblast, Spirit Break, Shadow Sneak, Ice Beam, Close Combat, and Knockoff. And it can also run utility moves like Encore and Destiny Bond and Trick. Not to mention, you can also run choice items on this guy with Trick as your fourth move, like Choice Scarf, Choice Band, Choice Specs. Anything would work. And you can also run Life Orb if you really wanna go like the offensive route. You can also run Heavy Duty Boots. I've seen Heavy Duty Boots Valiant in like a hazard stack boot spam team, really balanced team. And it also has some viability in Electric Terrain if you really want to go on the gimmick side. I wouldn't talk about it and wouldn't call it good, but it has versatility, right? Crazy versatility. Really fast, good typing. Typing helps you deal with King Gambit, which is awesome. It's either gonna force the King Gambit to Terra or force it to switch out. And just a really great late game cleaner and switch in. Like Ogre Pawns being troublesome, just bring in a Valiant and it has to either switch out or use its Terra, unless you hit it with a close combat of course. And like, yeah, it pretty much has to switch out or get knocked out, right? So like a really good late game check where you just bring it in on a Pokemon that is being troublesome and kind of deal with it easily. So I think probably like really good. It's S, definitely not S plus, but definitely S. It deserves it. This Pokemon is awesome. Fits in offense, fits in balance, fits in bulky offense. Like, just versatility is insane. Diversity of things it can do is just crazy. King Gambit, let's be honest, let's put this guy right here. Second best Pokemon in the tier. If Zamazenta didn't exist, this Pokemon would have been banned. So yeah, I don't want to talk about King Gambit much. It's just that it's a King Gambit, right? We all know what it does. We all know why it's an S plus. Moving on, Kyurem. Now this is another mon that I would put in broken, and the reason is that it is broken. It does, like, this Pokemon does not have switches. No counters to this Pokemon. There are only checks, and they are only there for like some amount of time in the game because it can easily deal with them. Like a Slowking, it can just Terra Ice and deal Spectrum. I'm talking about Spectrum. Terra Ice, Glowking is dead in 2 ice beams. Paired with another paired with Slowking itself, Cherry Reception, Terra Ice Blizzard, there are literally no switches for that move. Literally no switches for that move unless you're running Blissey. But then again, it's really hard to do anything because it can run mixed sets, and my personal favorite is a set that is Icicle Spear, Scale Shot, Freeze Dry, and Earth Power with loaded dice, because you can just deal with both physical and special walls and just not care. Glowking comes in, just hit it with Icicle Spear, it's gonna get 2-hit KO'd. Heatran comes in, well, Freeze Dry and Earth Power it. Garganackle, same thing, Earth Power it, or like maybe if it's doesn't have defense EVs, then just Icicle Spear it, right? And you also have Terra Ice, so if you really just want to get rid of a Garganackle after hitting it with a like maybe our Earth Power, that's just Terra Ice and Icicle Spear is gonna die. Like, yeah, there are literally no switches, no steel types, no fire types can deal with this guy if it gets a chance with Scale Shot. And not to mention the DD sets where you just are using like a DD physical attacker, they are really great too. You can utilize Terra Blast with like Terra Fire, Terra Ground, Working Gambit, and Goldangos and stuff. Probably Fire, because that also deals with like Corviknight and Skarmory. So yeah, overall just insanely powerful. Like, there are no switches for this Pokemon. If this thing is on a field, you're probably gonna have to sack something. If the opponent is playing well, you're just gonna have to sack something. And you don't know if it's a physical attacker or a special attacker. You go into Blissey, you get hit by Icicle Spear, Jover. Right? Landorus, probably gonna put it in S. I think it's a really good Pokemon, deserves a S. Like, just a defensive utility. Stealth Rock, Intimidate is awesome with Rocky Helmet. Stealth Rock Taunt is beautiful, deals with like it's a amazing counter lead to Glimora, right? Because you can just taunt it, and it also kind of deals with the Gliscor with taunt and stuff. Like, taunting everything is just awesome, right? One of the prime users of taunt in the tier. Being a flying type, being able to switch in on earthquakes and intimidating every physical attacker. There aren't any ice type physical attackers aside from Weavile. But Weavile is is on the lower end of usage in OU, and yeah, just a good mon to use, like a really good mon to use. Fits in pretty much every kind of team, whether it's offense or bulky offense or balance. You just put a Landorus and you've got your rocker, you've got your mon that can deal with, that can check physical attackers, and that can pivot out of situations, bring your breakers in, and just be a really good partner. And I've seen a lot of people using like offensive Landorus these days with like Earth Plate, Choice Scarf, Choice Band, Sash, and all that. So that's pretty cool. They are like exploring new options for this Pokemon. So yeah, definitely deserves an S. Latias, bad. I used to have an opinion that Latias is good, but after like over time it just became really bad because there's just so many taunt and encore and road like / whirlwind users in the tier that you just don't get an opportunity to set up and sweep with stored power. You just don't get it. And even if you like and not to mention like dark types and also like unaware Pokemon becoming dark type to specifically deal with stored power users. So overall I think it's just fell down and it's really bad. Maybe usable once in a blue moon. If you can make a team around it, it would work. I would personally want to put this in Garbanzo Beans, but maybe if you can make a team around it, it would if you can get a chance to, it would work. But it's like highly unlikely that you would be able to do anything with this guy. That's why I kind of want to put this in D, not gonna lie. This Pokemon isn't even UU because there's just that many Encore users in the tier. Encore and like phasers, phasing move users, right? And not to mention haze users as well. Yeah, Latios probably B or maybe B plus. Decent. I would give it a B. I think yeah, it deserves B. Like, it's good. You can make it work if you you know, make a good team. You can make it work overall. it would be just like a, if you use it if you really want to use it, and if you can make a good team, it would do its job. Yeah, it would do its job. Manaphy, I think Manaphy is bad, but yeah, I guess if you can make a team it would work. But I think I kind of personally think Manaphy is just bad. Like only viable set is like stored power, acid armor sets, and even then same situation with Lati, right? What if it gets encored? What if it gets taunted? What if it gets hazed? Or what if it's get whirlwinded out, or like roared out, right? Just too many variables that make this Pokemon unusable in my opinion. Then comes Maushold. Probably usable once in a blue moon. Like hitting 10 hits is pretty cool, and it has good, like tidy up is cool, encore is definitely nice move, and its speed tier is awesome. It's actually faster than Ogerpon with 353, so that's pretty cool. I think it's better than these guys. I'm definitely gonna put this in usable once in a blue moon, because I think if you can build a team and if you can like get everything right, it would probably sweep or do its job. But overall, if you just want to get rid of a Pokemon, hit it 10 times with Population Bomb. And besides, it's a fun mon to use. I know everyone loves Maushold, so I'm not gonna disrespect it by putting it in D. No sir. I'm gonna put this guy in C. Usable once in a blue moon. Once in a blue moon, you would have a game where Maushold swept. So yeah, that's the thing. Alright. Then comes Meowscarada. Put this guy in A maybe? Yeah, I think A is fine. I think Meowscarada is kinda on the verge of falling down to UU, but at the same time it can be really annoying. It has good coverage, knockoff, flower trick, low kick, triple axle, U-turn, and like protein is always a good ability, and like it's really fast. Scarf Meowscaradas are cool. Not being a knockoff user is always awesome, and I think it has versatility. It can run Choice Band, it can run Choice Scarf, it can be Boots. Boots are especially annoying. So though Moltres exists and Moltres kind of just and walls it for ages, it can't do anything. I think it's just overall you could use Meowscarada. It wouldn't be bad. Like I wouldn't call using Meowscarada bad, right? I think it's fine. Moltres, A+, top of A+. I don't want to put this in S because it recently came back to OU, and we still have to see how the meta evolves around the existence of Moltres in OU, right? Because there's definitely opportunities, right? Like options, and I would love to see how the meta evolves before I decide if it's really that good. So yeah, I'm gonna put it in A+. Like it's one of the best defensive mons in the tier. Flame Body, Will-O-Wisp, U-turn, Roar. Having a fire flying typing with Boots that can deal with ice types is really awesome, and it completely walls Meowscarada. It can deal with gouging fire because it can just roar it out, and deals with Cinderace really well, deals with Tusk really well, unless Tusk is using Hedge Smash. That's why I'm saying I want to see how the meta evolves on our Moltres before making putting this in like S or S+. So A+ is probably fine. Then comes Ninetales. Just gonna put this guy here. If you want to use a Veil team, use it. If not, don't use it. Ogerpon Cornerstone, I'm gonna put this guy in B+. Definitely has potential, and I would love to see how this goes. Like just like Ogerpon, all are good. Cornerstone is probably the worst out of the three Ogerpon. Like if I talk about this one too, I think Tealmask is more usable in OU than Cornerstone, but Cornerstone isn't bad either. It works. It's a cool mon. Rock type, of course, Ivy Cudgel. Rock type Ivy Cudgels are awesome. So yeah, there are not many switches for like a Terra Rock Ivy Cudgel user that can also use grass type moves to deal with ground types. So, and like it can also deal with steel types with low kick and stuff. So it has the coverage it needs. It might be a little underrated. Yeah, so that's that. Then I was talking about Ogerpon Tealmask, really at the same position. I personally think it's better than that, but overall same position. one advantage of using Teal Mask over this guy is it can run boots, and it pretty much has the same coverage aside from rock type, which it's whatever. Like it can run boots, works really well in boot spam teams, and just become like the annoying Pokemon, right? I even used it in my recent Moltres video and it worked really well. So yeah. Then comes Ogrespan. This is the third Pokemon that should get banned. This Pokemon does not have switch-ins in the tier, and it probably never will unless Among Us is the heavens decide to bless us with the sleep unban and Among Us rises up. I don't know if it still will be like Ogerpon doesn't have any move to Oko Among Us with, so that's something, but it does have SD and Encore, so I don't know how that's gonna go. Among Us does learn foul play, so that, yeah, we'll have to see, but that's probably the best thing that is a check to Among Us. Not Among Us, Ogerpon. Aside from that, this Pokemon does not have a check. It has coverage for pretty much everything. Dragon types, play rough. Ghost types and Dragapult, knock off. Overall, just knocking item off a bunch of Pokemon. And it has great typing when grass water. Like grass water typing fits each other so well because water resists grass weaknesses that are ice and fire, and grass resists water weaknesses that is grass and electric. And it also has water absorb ability, which is insane in the tier because of so many good water types like Dondozo. It's crazy, right? Because Dondozo walls all the physical attackers, and Ogerpon is a mon that walls Dondozo if you're not running body press, which is crazy. Like even then you have to get the turns right, you hit it on the switch, which is crazy, right? And like Primarina, other water types as well, right? Samurott and all that. Like it really just water absorb is a great ability. Its typing is awesome. Only thing that makes it less broken compared to these two is that it can't run boots. It is vulnerable to hazards, and it only has one Terra type. You always know when Ogerpon is gonna Terra and what Terra it's gonna do. There is no surprise factor, but still, that gaining that def boost is just crazy, and sometimes it means a world because a Valiant is clicking Moonblast, you just Terra and you knock that Valiant out, right? It's just one example. Of course, you can do that on pretty much any mod that is a special attacker, but that's the thing. And it also has utility moves like Encore SD Taunt. What else? Encore SD Taunt and like Spikes. Yeah, that's what I was forgetting. Spikes. It now Spikes. It also has low kick and superpower and U-turn for grass types, and it also has Trailblaze and Horn Leech and Power Whip, and Ivy Cudgel is in itself is just a broken move with 100 power and 100 accuracy, and getting boosted by its item that is Wellspring Mask. Every move gets 1.2 boost. Not a lot of people know this. Ogerpon's every single move gets a 1.2 times boost, and not just the stab moves. And it's crazy because there is no drawback. You are literally getting a life orb without without losing life. Now life orb is 1.3, but it doesn't make that much difference, right? Because 1.2 is still really awesome and you're not losing health. Yeah, this Pokemon's coverage is insane, and it's not that slow either. 350 is a really good speed stat. It's one of the higher speed stats. Now of course there are faster mon in the tier, especially with all the booster energy Pokemon, but still it's not that bad. Its speed is great. It is not a glass cannon either. It has bulk. It survives the Life Orb Deoxys' Psycho Boost, Max Special Attack Life Orb Deoxys' Psycho Boost from Max. It also survives the Terra Grass Banded Rillaboom's Glassy Guide in Grassy Terrain from Max, which is crazy, right? For a Ogerpon, right? For offensive Pokemon, it's insane. It really has a good amount of bulk. Alright, moving on, Okidogi. Now this Pokemon has been on the rise. People have been using this Pokemon a lot, and I personally like it. I would put this in B+ for now, but I think it would probably rise up, especially it would maybe not. I don't know. Its usage kinda depends on these mons like Darkrai and Zamazenta, because these two mons exist, then Okidogi exists, because the most likely you're gonna find these two mons in pretty much every team, so you are free to get away with using Okidogi, because Okidogi kind of walls Zamazenta and Darkrai if they don't have the correct moves, like Will-O-Wisp on Darkrai probably will burn the Okidogi and it wouldn't be a threat anymore, and Roar Zamazenta would be bad, or like a Psyshock Darkrai, which is really uncommon, but it is a thing. So yeah, Okidogi's rise has literally been dependent on the usage of Darkrai and Zamazenta, and I guess King Gambit too. So like if they are gone, maybe this would fall down. For now it's on the rise and probably go up as long as these guys in the tier. So for now I'm gonna put this in B plus here. It's a really cool Pokemon, really bulky on the speed def side, and can bulk up, become a setup sweeper, and its typing is decent. Poison fighting is good. Its ability Toxic Chain is one of the most annoying abilities, as it can poison with any move, no matter if it's physical or special, though this only uses physical moves of course. But yeah, and it usually utilizes Terra Fire, so it can deal with Dragapult. So yeah, it's like this Pokemon is there for like the top 4 Pokemons in the tier: Darkrai, Zamazenta, Kingambit, and Dragapult, which is kind of funny. It has good coverage too. It has Ice Beam, Knockout, P-Jab, CC, and all that stuff. So really cool. So Pecharunt is next, and probably just gonna put this guy in B. If he can make a good team, it would probably work. Same as kind of Hisuian Goodra. I do think Hisuian Goodra is probably better than this guy, because its usage is only like if you can poison something with Malignant Chain, then it's cool. It's completely useless against steel types. So yeah, I'm gonna put this guy in B. Only thing this thing has going for it is its poisoning thing and it's a defensive bulk. Yeah, so that's that. Pelipper, like overall, because though Pelipper dropped the UU, and you would probably only use this in rain, I think I'm just gonna put this in B. Not even I guess rains are pretty common, so I guess I would put this in B. I would give it a B. If you're running a rain team, then you obviously need Pelipper, right? Okay, B plus. If you need a rain team, you have to use Pelipper, and it's good. So B plus, I guess. Then comes Primarina. I'm gonna put this thing in A plus. I think it's really good. It is like really good. Actually, I'm gonna bump this guy down to A plus, not S. When you look at these mons, I think Cinderace doesn't belong with these mons, at least not with these mons. So yeah, I'm gonna put this guy in S, A plus. But Primarina is also A plus because it is just really good. Water Fairy, like it can become a breaker with choice specs. AV sets are cool. Calm Mind subsets are really good. It has decent typing. Being a fairy type is always nice. And pair that it with water, it kind of checks gouging fire, and its def bulk is nothing to laugh at. It survives pretty much everything with AV, and Psychic Noise is cool tech that it got. Flip Turn, it has momentum, right? It can become a sweeper. Custom Berry sets are especially annoying. I hate facing Custom Berry sets because with Torrent range they just hit like a truck, right? And overall, I think a really good mon to use, definitely an A plus in my opinion. It fits too. It fits in offensive teams. Splashable, really splashable in pretty much all kinds of teams aside from Sama Stall and Stall. You can pretty much fit this thing in any kind of archetype. Then comes Raging Board. Now I'm gonna put this guy in S. This guy deserves S. This Pokemon is borderline broken. Only thing that makes it not go above the line is like mons like Tinglu and Treads, ground types, and Encore users, because they can just Encore you into like not using Thunderclap, because you have to rely on using Thunderclap, and Thunderclap has you have ways to go around Thunderclap, right? Aside from that, it is almost similarly bulky to Kingambit, and it does the same job as Kingambit. They both use similar moves like 2 stabs and a priority, right? Now the thing why Kingambit is better is because of course its ability, first of all, and second that its priority can only be hindered by using status moves, right? For a Raging Board, if you have a fast ground type in front of it, it can't do anything. Aside from like terroring, it can't do anything. And also being a dragon type, like it's both stab moves walled by two types, like dragon gets walled by fairy and electric gets walled by ground. Now there is not a fairy ground Pokemon in like ever. There was never a fairy ground Pokemon created, but yeah, still it kind of hinders its capability to see. But still, this Pokemon is definitely S. It's insane how good this Pokemon is. It deals with Clodsire, unaware Clodsire, because of just Draco Meteor. It's that powerful. Hit the Clodsire with 2 Draco Meteor with booster energy, it's dead. Right, unaware Clodsire, I mean. And like, it hits like a truck. It can set up, it can use taunt to deal with Blissey and stuff. It can pretty much, if Blissey doesn't have Calm Mind, it will out boost Blissey anyways. It will out boost Blissey with leftovers, I am telling you that. Really powerful breaker. It has versatility too. You can run AV, it has momentum with Volt Switch. You can run AV, you can run boots, you can run specs, you can run booster energy, you can run leftovers. Like, really good versatility. It fits in weather teams too, with like its of course its weather ball tech, where it runs weather ball for ground types, and like pair it with chilly reception, Slowking, and weather ball, ice type weather ball. That's something too. So definitely amazing one, definitely S. Then comes Ribombee. You only really use this if you're running Sticky Webs team. I'm gonna put this in B. I don't think it's like, compared to what Pelipper does. Pelipper does wall some defensive Pokemon. Ribombee doesn't do anything. It's just a turn 1 sack pretty much most of the time. So yeah, Ribombee B. Rillaboom, I'm gonna put this guy in A+. Really awesome guy. Let's put this guy right beside its buddy. Like the Gen 8 buddies, they are awesome. Like, I love using Rillaboom. It is such a good breaker. It is like one of those really powerful balanced Pokemon. Like, it has its uses and it has its checks and counters. Like, it can do anything to a Moltres or Corviknight aside from knocking them off, but at the same time, like, they go hand in hand. Moltres being knocked off is really bad, but at the same time, it has to risk being burned by Flame Body, right? So that's the same thing that goes. Like, it's just a really good mod to have. Great priority, awesome priority, one of the best priorities in the game. I would say it's better than Extreme Speed actually. This thing's priority is awesome. It's so powerful with Terra Grass. It's a great cleaner. I also used the SD Terra Blast Fire Rillaboom. That was really awesome. Yeah, I think this mon, and talk about versatility too. Like, it can run SD Life Up. Band is the most common. People use Terrain Extender for terrain teams, and people run like AV for taking sponging hits, and people even run heavy duty boots so that it can come in often and get grassy terrain up for like their maybe sweepers, or even their like Pokemon like Garganacl that are Raging Board that really appreciate that grassy terrain recovery. So it has its uses, it has its versatility, and knockoff, U-turn, momentum, all that stuff is just really good. I think this Pokemon, it deserves A+. It's just awesome. Roaring Moon, same thing, A+. I don't think it's S, because we have found ways to deal with Roaring Moon, and the only problem with Roaring Moon is that makes it not go S is that it has to rely on Terraing to be able to deal with its checks. Like Great Tusk and Zamazenta, if it doesn't Terra, it can't knock them out, and probably will get knocked out because they have super effective moves for it, and its defense is really weak. And then again, it's vulnerable to physical priorities a lot, because just a good amount of chip and you can just knock it out with a physical priority, a powerful one. Extreme Speed, Sucker Punch, even Grassy Glide if you Terra actually. And then it is vulnerable to burn, of course. Moltres exists, Zapdos exists. Well, Zapdos isn't that great, but you know what I mean. And then it kind of gets can get outsped by a Pokemon like Darkrai with Scarf, and like really just main problem is that it has to rely on Terraing, right? It does have a coverage problem as well. It can't do anything to a Balloon King Gambit. It's gonna take a Iron Head and then just die to next Sucker Punch. So that's the problem with Rolling Moon. Not to mention the invention of Sticky Bar Clefable. I talked about it when I was ranking Clefable as well. Like, Sticky Bar Cleffables is so good for mons like Gouging Fire, Roaring Moon, Booster Energy Tusk. All these Pokemon is just crazy. Yeah, Roaring Moon I think is not broken. I think it's fine in the tier. It should remain in the tier A+. Rotomosh, I would give this a B. If you can build a team around it, it may or may not work. Like, I wouldn't recommend using Rotowash. I don't think it's that great, but I guess you could make it kind of work. It does have some uses with Will-O-Wisp and Phase Split and Levitate. So yeah, then comes Samurott, and I'm gonna put this guy in A. Just a really balanced spike setter. It has its unique thing in setting spikes while hitting. It has priority, great typing that kind of checks Goldengo's typing and Kingambit's typing, so that's pretty cool. And it has priority. It has like Ceaseless Edge, of course, really good. It has knockoff. It has coverage too, and like Sacred Sword and stuff for opposing dark types. But overall, like, it can run AV, Boots, Sash can become a lead. Choice Scarf, Choice Band is really good. Not to mention Encore, which is really good. It can run Encore, and I think it also learns Taunt. I'm not sure, but let's...
1 hour later.
Okay, so yeah, Samurott deserves A. I think it's just a really splashable Pokemon on most teams. It just does its job of getting spikes up and knocking items off, and yes, it does learn Taunt and it does learn Encore, which is really cool. It also learns SD, not that good of a usage, but maybe if you can make it work. But overall, just a really good Pokemon. Then comes Scizor. I would put this guy also in B+. These are all mons that have potential to be good in OU if you can use them right? Yeah, they have potential. Like, Scizor can work. It has some niche, like being a bullet punch user, really powerful technician bullet punch user, priority, and has coverage, SD. It also has defog, which is funny because I've seen people use defog Scizor, and it kind of works if you can make it work with heavy duty boots and all that stuff. So yeah, I think I'm just gonna put this in B. These are all similar mons. Like, they set up, they have potential to sweep even in OU if things go in their advantage or favor. So yeah, I think overall just a cool mon, usable mon in OU. Then comes Serpier. I'm gonna give this guy A, even though this guy dropped to UU. I don't think it deserves to be in UU. It should probably come back to OU. I feel that way at least. And because it's one of the good Pokemon that can actually switch in on Ogerpon and do something. Like, because it's really uncommon for Ogerpon to use U-turn. It could, but you don't usually see it that often, especially on the Wellspring variant. So you can kind of come in on it and glare something and knock something's item off, synthesis up. It all, like Leaf Storm, just boosting while your attack is just like the best thing you can do, and it's guaranteed unless you miss, of course. And it also has the utility of Terra going through. Like, if you use a Terra and if you get to go through like a big check that opens up your team, that's, I think, worth it in my opinion. And it's fast. It's faster than Ogerpon. That's its biggest up. Like, it's 357 faster than 350 users like Moth and Ogerpon and all that stuff. So yeah, I think it does deserve to be an A. It is a really good Pokemon. Sweeper, utility is good. Glare can paralyze everything aside from electric types. Knockoff is awesome. And Leaf Seed Substitute is always annoying. Then comes Sinisha. Same thing, I would put this in B+, same mon. It has usage. Spin blocking is really good. It's actually one of the good spin blockers because it doesn't take much from Ice Spinner from Tusk because of how high its defense is, and it can gain everything back using Strength Sap. Only Strength Sap user in the tier, and I must say this thing is annoying with its Strength Sap and shit, and it can burn stuff with Matcha Gotcha. So I think a really cool and really viable mon in the OU tier. Not the best, but like, it can work. It has some use in the OU tier. Skarmory, gonna keep it same as Corvina. It really does the same job of being a defensive check and a kind of a Kingambit check. and just gets walled by Dragapult. One thing Corviknight has above this thing is that it can U-turn out on Dragapult, and Skarmory has always has to make a double, but Skarmory has hazards and Corviknight doesn't, so that gives it an edge over it. But Corviknight also has Deep Fog, so it gets blocked by Gholdengo, and Gholdengo can't do anything when you're setting hazards up. So yeah, both of these guys have their own things, own niches, and their own advantages of using them, but overall they do the same job and they are good at it, so A+. Then comes Skeleturge. I think Skeleturge is kind of bad. At the same time, I think it deserves to be with these guys, like these three, pretty much. I think honestly, I'm gonna bump Dondozo up to A. I think Dondozo is really good at what it does, like walling the physical Pokemon. It is an annoying Pokemon if you're not running Ogerpon Wellspring, and because it can also do that for special attackers with being just like max def EVs and careful nature. So that's why Dondozo is probably over these guys. Clodsire I think is fine where it is. Skeleturge, I would probably put this in the same tier, like unaware Pokemons and all that. Like, yeah, it's good. It walls stuff with unaware, like walls Zamazenta and stuff, and it's cool with its unaware thingy, but kind of vulnerable to a bunch of stuff at the same time, right? Vulnerable to Toxic, has to Terra if it really wants to take hits from like a Great Tusk. It's slow, and once its item gets knocked off, it struggles a lot with without terraing. So I think B+ is fine. Usually you see it in like semi-stalls and stalls. Maybe you could work in boot spam, but it's hard to do that with Skeleturge. Overall, I think B+ is fine. Alright, next up, Slowking Galar. This is the 5th Pokemon in the S+ tier. This Pokemon is best at what it does, and that is taking special hits and pivoting out with Chilly Reception. Chilly Reception is probably one of the best moves that were released this gen, and Slowking uses it like with perfection. Just takes a hit, pivots out, and brings a breaker in or a counter to the Pokemon that is on the field, and you're just chilling, right? It regenerates everything. Boots is awesome, deals with like Valiant and stuff, though Valiant does run knockoff and all that stuff, so that's something. But like it also takes Kyurem's hits unless Kyurem decides to like Terra Ice or Terra Ground and hit it with powerful moves and its specs. Overall it deals with it. Special variants only, not physical. Kyurem is just gonna rail with it. Even mixed Kyurem is gonna rail Slowking after like a freeze dry into Icicle Crash. It can't really do anything. But yeah, one of the better checks to Kyurem, and pretty much everything. It doesn't even die to a Dark Pulse. It takes Dark Pulses and just pivots out on it. So that is something. That is awesome. Like Galarian Slowking is the glue that this tier needs. It's like the best glue Pokemon. You can fit this guy on every type of balance to bulky offense, to even like standard offense, where you're just running a bunch of offense mons and then this thing just to get free momentum, just to get that glue, like taking hits and pivoting out. So it fits really well. It fits in stall, semi-stall, and everything aside from hyper offense. So just amazing mon. 3rd best Pokemon in the tier, actually 2nd best Pokemon in the tier. I think Dragapult is still better, but Slowking is 2nd, Kingambit is 3rd, Garg in my opinion is 4th, and finally Gliscor. Yeah, this order is probably like this is my order of their rankings. For this one, I would put Kyurem above Darkrai. Yeah, I would put Kyurem above Darkrai and then Ogerpon. Alright, next mon is Tinglu. Just gonna put this guy in B+, maybe B+. Nah, actually A is fine. I think it's just that good tank that gets hazards up, and like it walls things for a good amount of time in the game, eventually gets shipped down, but it does its jobs with really well. It does its job really well of getting hazards up, phasing things out, walling things like Raging Bolt and Goldengo, and just overall good Pokemon, I would say. There's not much to think about Tingu. We all know what it does and it's good at it. So Tinkaton is something that I kind of want to put in A. The amount of uses this thing's getting is crazy and it's good, but might be a little too biased, so let's just put it in B plus. Would be a little biased, I would say, if I put this guy in B plus. Maybe Glimora gets pushed up to A because of the amount of usage it has in the tier, but I think it's fine where it is. I think Glimora is B plus. It doesn't have any usage aside from being a lead, right? Red card is cool, so that's all, and Meter Beam is cool, but it's situational. You can't even glue this mon on every team either, right? You can't splash this team Pokemon on every team. You can only use this mon in like offense and hyper offense. So yeah, Tinkaton, you would really only use this thing in like boot spam and bulky offense kind of teams. Balanced teams, not really in balance. I would just say bulky offense and boot spams has its stack. So yeah, but its rise is good. Like it is rising in usage. People are using this a lot, and it's cool because its typing is really good. Steel Fairy typing is one of the best typings out there, and with like its utility, Stealth Rock, Thunder Wave, Knockoff, Encore, and like pickpocket stealing items from like Uton Landorus, Uton Dragapult, just stealing its item, its boots. Mold Breaker is really cool because it can paralyze Garg and Goldengo. So yeah, definitely good mon to use, I would say. Definitely has its usage. And one of the mon that actually switches in on Darkrai. Darkrai can't do anything to this thing unless it decides to Nasty Plot and hit it up with a Focus Blast. That's the best thing Darkrai does to Tinkaton. But even with Speed Def, I think +2 Focus Blast wouldn't kill Tinkaton if you're running a Speed Def Tinkaton. So that is probably the main use of this Pokemon. It can kind of check Darkrai to some extent. Not for a long period of time, but for like a good amount of time in a game, it can come in on Darkrai and do its stuff. Like it can force it out because a Darkrai wouldn't appreciate being paralyzed. Alright, next is Starcoal. Same thing as Pelipper. Just gonna B plus. Actually, just let's bump these guys down to B. I think they are like do whatever. Like they do what they do, and they do good. Like they do what they do with perfection. They're the best at it, and that's it. That's really just that's it. So I don't want to put them in B plus. I think B is fine. Toxapex just gonna go B. I don't think it's that great. Wouldn't put in B. Put it in B plus. I think Toxapex, you only really use this in stall or semi-stall, and even at that, I think it fell down. It's not that great. Haze and Toxic is cool. T-Spike is cool, but there are just better mons than Toxapex to use in a team, in my opinion. Then comes Titar. Same thing with these guys. Like, kind of want to put this with Excadrill because Titar is kind of bad. If you're using Sand team, then well, you're gonna face consequences. But overall, they go hand in hand. I wouldn't use Titar without Excadrill. I wouldn't use Excadrill without Titar. I think they go hand in hand. These three are above Titar because how common these three archetypes are. Like Rain, Sun, and Sticky Webs are really common and they're good in OU tier. Sand, not so much. Ursaluna, B. No, not B. I think Ursaluna is C. Usable once in a blue moon. If you can make a good team with it, then it would work. Otherwise, it wouldn't work, right? If you can get a good team that can utilize Ursaluna's ability to set up and break stuff, then it's cool and all, but overall it's not that great. It's the same situation as Iron Hands where it breaks a Pokemon and then dies, kinda gets shipped. Unless you're running it in Trick Room, that's something. A Trick Room makes it kind of viable and annoying. Maybe that's the reason it should get bumped up to B. I don't know, maybe. Honestly, I think Pecherant isn't that great. I think I would put Pecherant in C. It's only usable once in a blue moon. Like if you really can build a team with Pecherant, then it would be work. I think Ursaluna is higher than this guy. Definitely is a great breaker. Like there are not many switches to Facade. Actually, there aren't any switches to burn Facade from this thing. All you gotta do is hope that you can get it right and bring in like a ghost type on it and chip it down. So yeah, even like a air balloon Goldengo, it learns fire punch, and for Skarmory and Corviknight it learns fire punch. Only the problem is that it's really slow. Even with Trailblaze, it doesn't outspeed a bunch of stuff in the tier, so that's why B. Walking Wake, gonna go B plus. I don't think it's that great. You really most of the time you really only use this in really only use this in, or what it's called, Sun. But there are possibilities where you could run this outside Sun with like boots or maybe booster energy or like maybe life orb and do some stuff. It has some utility moves like knock off and flip turn, and it is kind of powerful. So yeah, agility sets are something that are good to maybe. So yeah, some usage outsides of Sun. Most of the time it's just Sun, so I'm gonna put it in B. Then comes Weavile. Gonna go with this guy in A. I don't think it's A plus. It's really good, but it doesn't fit in most teams. You wouldn't use this guy in like a really offensive oriented team. I wouldn't, at least. I think Weavile is usually fits in like bulky balance, not bulky balance, like bulky offense and kind of semi-stally teams, where hazard stack teams where you're stacking a bunch of hazards, and Weavile is like knocking all the items off. It has good typing. Dark Ice is really good offensively, and like it can learn SD. It has low kick for King Gambit. It has priority. Knocking items off is really good. But yeah, it's just a really good mon in the tier and really balanced mon, I would say. Nothing too good, nothing too bad about it. Weezing, bad, only usable once in a blue moon. I would never use Weezing Galar. If it learns defog and all that, but it's just too weak in my opinion, and like no recovery, reliable recovery, typing isn't that great, and learns Will-O-Wisp, Pain Split and defog and stuff, but still it struggles to do its job as a physical tank. So see, might even just go Garbanzo Beans, not gonna lie. I think this thing is just bad. I think this thing is just bad, not gonna lie. Yeah, I think Weezing Galar is just bad. I wouldn't use that thing. Compared to Pecherant though, am I really... Honestly, what does Pecherant even do? I think Pecherant is awful. Yeah, I think I'm gonna put Pecherant in D. It is garbage. Pecherant is really bad, I would say. Pecherant is really bad. Yeah, let's just put that guy in D, alongside Weezing Galar. Weezing Galar has more utility over Pecherant, but I still don't like this Pokemon. I think it's just awful. Don't use that Pokemon. Then comes Zamazenta, the fourth horseman of broken Pokemons. I'm gonna talk about Zamazenta, but let's just get rid of Zapdos. You know, it's gonna be A. I think Zapdos is on the rise, and I think it's really good in OU tier. I don't know if it's gonna climb back up to OU, but it has some niches. Definitely compared to Moltres, it's not that great. Moltres is better because it gets walled by electric types, mainly Tinglu and Garganacl and all that stuff. Moltres does get walled by Garganacl too, but Zapdos is an electric type mainly. Can't do much to ground types, can't paralyze ground types unless they decide to hit you with a physical attack, right? And then its only good move that can hit stuff is Hurricane, so it doesn't have good accuracy. Moltres on the other hand hits stuff with Flamethrower, so that's one up. And Zapdos also doesn't have any phasing moves. Moltres has phasing moves, and its overall is a better defensive tank because burning a physical attacker is way better than paralyzing it. So yeah, A, maybe even top of B plus. I think B plus is better. I don't think it's on the level of being an A Pokemon. It needs more time. Maybe if it rises up, then it would be A. It would, but yeah, I think as long as Moltres exists, Zapdos is just a niche. It's like a worse pick compared to Moltres. So yeah, B plus. Alright, now let's talk about Zamazenta. I personally hate this guy the most. I would want this guy to go out like first, but if I'm being honest, then either of these two should probably go out. Like, I don't know what's more broken than these two. These two are on the same level. But Zamazenta, I think, is a Pokemon that does not belong in the tier, and this might be controversial. A lot of people don't think Zamazenta is broken, and a lot of people think it is. I am the guy who thinks it's broken. Why? Because it gatekeeps offense teams. As long as Zamazenta is on the field, offensive teams can't do anything, especially physical attackers. Yeah, you're gonna have to use your mons to chip this thing down and like forces this thing out and somehow prevent it from iron defensing on your Pokemon, because it can do that. And really bulky, insanely bulky, it doesn't even die to super effective special attacks unless it's from a really powerful Pokemon like a Scarf Enamorous Moonblast. It doesn't KO Zamazenta from max HP. It doesn't. It just doesn't. This Pokemon is that powerful. It's more like Zamazenta becomes like it's unleashed when it's paired with 5 other Pokemon that can make a way for it. Like Zamazenta gets the most amount of sweeps outside of these 3. Why? Because it's just that crazy. It is a sweeper at the same time a physical defense tank. Who does that? Like if a Dondozo walls every physical attacker in the team, that's cool because it can't do anything other than that from like that. It can only do that on stall. It doesn't fit on any other archetype. Zamazenta on the other hand fits on every single archetype aside from stall. And it does its job of walling physical attackers and at the same time becoming a sweeper really well. It has all the coverage it needs. Like it has Crunch for Slowking and Goldengo. It has Heavy Slam for Fairy types. It has Stone Edge for Moltres. And you never know what it's gonna hit with. Its versatility is crazy. It can run Substitute, it can run Roar, it can run Resto Chesto, and it can, in items, it can have Boots, it can have Leftovers, it can have, of course, Chesto Berry, it can have Mirror Herb. I've seen that too. It could be Boots for attacks. That has been kind of working for me lately in the tier because Moltres climbed back to OU, so I just run 4 attacks Zamazenta and they just don't expect me to be 4 attacks. I have 3 other coverage attacks, right? And they fall for it. Like its coverage is awesome. That's all it needs. It even has Ice Fang for Lando, but I wouldn't recommend using it. Lando is probably one of the best kind of checks for Zamazenta, because as long as Lando is on the field, Zamazenta probably won't be able to sweep. But Lando is a Pokemon that gets stripped down very fast in a game, in a balanced game especially, because there's a bunch of stuff it has to do. It has to get rocks up, it has to come in on physical attackers, and it has to come in on like a Raging Bolt because maybe it's the only ground type in your team. So it does get chipped down very, very fast. And like people don't realize this. They say Zamazenta is balanced, but they don't realize it that they're effectively and unintentionally using 2 to 3 Pokemon in their teams to deal with this guy. Like they're running Landorus plus Slowking that can deal with Zamazenta. And still, if Landorus is low and Slowking is the only guy left, Zamazenta will sweep. Like 5 other Pokemon with this score, it can't deal with Zamazenta, and your other Pokemon sure as hell can't, because like if you have a fast Pokemon, this thing is just too bulky and then it terrors on you, and especially with the defense boost, because physical attackers are out of the question, right? You have to deal with special attackers, and the only special attackers that actually knock him out are like Fairy types and Psychic types, and it's just Terra Steals on them. Zamazenta most of the time ends up sweeping a team, especially offense teams. Like there's a funny thing that a lot of people say: if 2 offense teams are battling, the guy who doesn't have Zamazenta is gonna lose. And it's somewhat kind of true, because Zamazenta is that kind of Pokemon because it gatekeeps offense. right? You can't outboost it because it runs roar. You can't sat assist because it runs substitute, and rest to chesto as well. You can chip it down because it always has a chance to be rest to chesto. You have to correctly predict what its set is, what its terra is, and like correctly use moves, because you wouldn't want to lose momentum by burning a Terra Fires Zamazenta on the turn. It Terra Fires and just hits you with a crunch. Like in balanced teams, you're effectively using Dragapult and Slowking and Lando in the same team to deal with this guy. It's like the situation with Volcarona. If Volcarona has the correct Terra, it's gonna sweep. If Zamazenta has the correct Terra and correct move pool, it's gonna sweep, and there's nothing you can do about it. It kind of has a 4 moveset syndrome because it can deal with everything, but at the same time it doesn't have to deal with everything, because this mon is dealing with so many things in the tier, and then you have 5 other Pokemon that can like help it take the burden off its shoulders, right? And it's really fast. Second fastest Pokemon in the tier. Okay, third fastest Pokemon in the tier, but let's forget Deoxys because it's not on the level of Dragapult and Zamazenta. So second fastest Pokemon in the tier, and like Valiant is just Terras in front of it, deals with it with Heavy Slam and all that stuff. Like Goldengo, defensive Goldengo is one of the best checks for it, but at the same time, what if you get surprised by a random Terra Dark, which has viability? It's not that random. You could use Terra Dark to go past Slowking, Galar and Goldengo, and it would work. What if Goldengo suffers a defense drop or Slowking suffers a defense drop? That is also one problem with Darkrai. Darkrai's like moves are so RNG based as well. It can freeze, it can poison, it can flinch. Same way Zamazenta, it can defense drop. It's only 2 checks, and now they're not checks anymore because they're gonna have to switch out and you get a free move. Like Dragapult, it's faster, it can burn, but it just suffers from getting hit by a Terra Fire Zamazenta, and now Dragapult can't do anything to this Zamazenta. One thing is that Roar Moltres kind of was Zamazenta, but then again, if it has Stone Edge, then you're gonna have to burn your Terra, and you still won't be able to knock the Zamazenta out. It has a way to deal with every one of its checks and counters. It's just the matter of if it does have that move or not. Yeah, I mean, it fits. It's splashable in so many teams. It fits in pretty much everything aside from stall and semi-stall. Offense, you can use it. Hyper offense, yes, you can use it. Balance, bulky offense, or what else is there? Whatever is, like, you can use this in any team aside from stall, and it would work. Yeah, so yeah, that's why I think Zamazenta is broken, and that's why I think all 4 of these guys are broken and probably should not belong in the tier. I talked so much, especially with Zamazenta. I personally hate Zamazenta, not gonna lie. I have some animosity with this Pokemon. I think this Pokemon is just crazy. Even in tournaments, like, you would see Zamazenta in most of the teams. I think Zamazenta should go. If I were to like order them on what should probably get suspected first or banned first, I would say Darkrai is probably first, and then Kyurem, then no, actually Darkrai, then Zamazenta, then Kyurem, and then Ogerpon. I think that's my order of brokenness for these 4. This is my order of being the best in the tier. If I were to order these guys, then Dusk is fine, Goldengo, Valiant. I would put these 2 above. Actually, yeah, these 2 above here. Gouging Fire probably above Raging Bolt. Actually, Gouging Fire even above Valiant. I think this is the order of their rankings. Everything else I wouldn't order them because they're just there, whatever, like they're on the same level kinda, but for the top 3 tiers I think I can order them. So yeah, this is my tier listing video. I hope you have reached the end, and if you're still watching, just know that I really appreciate you watching this whole video, tier listing video. Even if you just skipped to see my end tier list, I mean, I appreciate you just you know, just clicking on the vid. And if you do like this tier listing video, make sure to drop a like on the video and let me know if you want to see more of this in the future. I would love to do this. tier listing thing. I kind of enjoyed it myself, talking about all this stuff. Even though I was just talking to a computer screen, I kind of enjoyed expressing my thoughts on all these Pokemon. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. Thanks for watching, and make sure to subscribe to the channel. It is completely free and it helps me a lot. I'm on my way to 2,000 subs before the end of this year. So go ahead, hit that subscribe button, become a part of that journey, and I'll see you all next time. Goodbye.